Good morning and welcome to Senate Committee on Energy, Economic Development and Tourism. Today is Wednesday, October 23rd, 2024, and we are in conference room 229. This informational briefing is being streamed live on YouTube. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this briefing due to technical difficulties, we're going to try and reconvene as soon as we are able. In the event we are not able to reconvene today, a new notice will be posted on Hawaii Legislature website. The purpose of this informational briefing is for the committee to receive an overview of the current operations from the Hawaii Tourism Authority. This includes going over the roles and responsibilities of the HTA Board, overview of Hawaii Tourism Authority, Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau, and Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and reviewing HTA budget for fiscal biennium 2025 to 2027. This is just first of a series of informational briefings our committee intends to hold for myself and our committee members to better understand HTA and its contractors so we can work collaboratively heading into the 2025 legislative session. As this is an informational briefing, no public testimony will be accepted, and only those listed on the agenda will be presenting and answering questions along with their department supervisors and supporting staff. I kindly ask that all members to please hold their questions until after all the presenters are done with the presentations. So if there's any follow-up questions to the ones that we sent out earlier, members, you guys can send them over to office and we'll just send them back out like how we did earlier to the division. So thank you. So without further ado, I want to start up. First up on the agenda, we have Interim President and CEO of HTA, Daniel Nahopi. Sorry, Daniel, before we even go, I want to thank the members for coming in, as well as all of you. I know everybody's busy and they have a lot of work to do, but it's really helpful for us to understand where we are today because there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. So to the left of me, I have Senator Fukunaga. To the right of me, Senator Kim and Senator Favela, and Senator Wakai has been excused on having to do personal things, and myself as chair, Dequate. So mahalo all of you for being here. I really, really appreciate this as an educational process for myself as well. So Daniel, please, thank you.
Aloha, Chair Decoy, and Senator Fukunaga, Senator Kim, and Senator Favela. Thank you so much for making some time for us to explain where we are today and the entire tourism system that represents here both our major contractors, our board, and then the industry and the communities that we represent. So we made a short presentation to cover all of the aspects that were addressed in both the questions as well as some of the issues that were brought up earlier and the topic of this info briefing. So I'll just go through this and then we can go ahead and answer some of the other questions.
So Daniel, first of all, I just want to say that we had sent out questions to the different departments or different divisions, and thank you for sending back the questions. So I just want to make sure, did you guys get all the questions and answers to those? Okay, thank you.
I have extra copies if needed.
That's super helpful. Thank you.
So yeah. So thank you again. And today's short presentation is really going to look at overall what we're doing, as well as the relationships between all of the issues and components of the tourism industry. And we start with looking at our mission, which is really to show that we play a very important role in managing tourism here in Hawaii. Not only what specifically is tasked in terms of our management, but also our relationship as being facilitators and connecting all the different facets of the tourism industry. And most importantly is playing that role that doesn't really exist outside, which is to balance both the economy, the communities, and to help bridge the cultural areas, the foster and understanding, create memorable experiences is important for all the people, for all the walks of life. We also ensure that there's a kuleana. When you come to travel, That's a right to be able to travel. But for us, kuleana also means it's a responsibility. And we ensure that the traveler understands, and all the businesses and communities understand that there's a responsibility in hosting as well as visiting a destination or a location, because it's someone's home. It's also someone's livelihood. So what you see here is really how we guide tourism in Hawaii from the HTA perspective. And we've set 3 time frames of work and goals. So the first, and we'll go into detail about it, is stabilizing and optimizing the engine of our economy. Right now, we know that the visitor industry is still suffering. Part of it is effects of the Maui wildfires, where Maui visitation is still down 25% overall, both in arrivals as well as the amount that visitors are spending in Hawaii. We also know coming out of the pandemic, the international markets are still having a difficult time to rebuild to the level and capacity that they were pre-pandemic, which is very critical because that includes many businesses that were operating here prior to the pandemic and the networks that exist between the Japanese businesses, Korea, Oceania. That will happen over the next year in our fiscal year 25, also leading into fiscal year 26. In fiscal year 27, 28, over the next 2 to 3 years, we are working on focusing on building the destination at the island level, destination management. The legislature, we thank you for providing the 5 positions of destination managers, 1 for each of the main islands, and then also including Molokai, where the problem issues are, but also where we have the potential to work at an island level and create island decision-making. So we'll focus on that over the next 2 to 3 years and hiring all the positions, creating maybe a more network and feedback system. And then within the next 5 years, the most important point is moving towards a regenerative tourism model. So not only are we informing visitors of what they should be doing, but the other way is also providing the product that's here in Hawaii also needs to be refreshed, as well as focused more on the type of tourism tours product that will actually provide a positive contribution to communities and people's livelihoods. So we're working on encouraging new businesses, startups and entrepreneurs, as well as training existing businesses to shift towards more green business, to more contribution to community impacts, and then employ more local people. So I just talked about that whole regenerative component. And as we mentioned, it's regenerative tourism itself is a process to make a net positive contribution, particularly to our communities, and create conditions that allow our communities to actually flourish instead of being extractive and putting heavy demand on our communities. We do it through engaging, our collaborative efforts. We only have a small staff of 30 allocated positions. We're currently at about 20 right now. So our strength is bringing the people together, bringing the agencies, and identifying and elevating the issues so that the people who have the resources or the organizations that have the resources can then act on them. And then where additional resources are needed, we seek funding through the legislature or through other donations and partnerships. We have to make sure that we improve the destination to create genuine and meaningful experiences, as I mentioned. We have to stay competitive in terms of our, against other destinations similar to us, where visitors or potential visitors might think to travel instead of us. We always have to keep on pace with what's happening, what are the demands, what are potential visitors looking for across all of our country markets. And most importantly, improve the destination for the current and future generations. What that means, making sure that the environment continues to be safe, resources are conserved as much as possible since we are an island nation. We have to ensure the well-being of the residents, our indigenous communities, and of course visitors when they're here. So quickly, the oversight and accountability. So as you know, we have both the legislature providing their input, your input through the Senate, the bills that you're passing. We're working closely with you in terms of what we suggest, and then you can look forward and vet those ideas. The same with the House. And then we also are managed through our interaction with the governor and lieutenant governor, some of their issues overall for the state of Hawaii, and we make sure that we're in alignment with their policies and preferred programs. And of course, our board of directors provide us the policy and direction and help us to prioritize where we are. We make recommendations to them. It's vetted through their discussions and their meetings. We have multiple committees that meet every month, and the committees then bring up the information that's needed or the decision-making to the general board that we have on a monthly basis. And our chair will talk a little bit more about that later. So one of the questions I was asked is about, how are we structured? So as I mentioned, the board of directors give us the policy driven decisions. We ask them for advice. Many of them have specialties in areas that we need additional advice, information, and insights. And then internally, we're broken into 4 main areas, branches and offices. We have finance, which includes the procurement as well as the audit and finance, fiscal management. Destination stewardship, which includes destination management, workforce development, things related to here in Hawaii, resident concerns, safety of visitors, as well as our community development. And we had mentioned about the destination managers, all fall into that area. Brand marketing is looking at outside of Hawaii, enticing and drawing visitors here. Also includes establishing the brand and making sure that it's competitive. And then planning evaluation does both our long-range objectives, mission, but also evaluating all of our programs as we go along and make corrections in that cycle of planning and evaluation. And each of them has an officer, and all 4 of our leads in those areas are here today. Another question that many have asked is, how is the relationship of what we do with many of our contracts? So what we did is we put some of the contracts here and topics along the 4 areas. So the finance area is responsible for also managing the Hawaii Convention Center. So destination stewardship manages those programs such as which includes what is the contract with CNHA through the Kilohana Collective. And their responsibility includes the community enrichment programs or funding programs, as well as training of and developing new businesses through the technical assistance granting, or CTC we've been calling it, community tourism collaboratives. And also what we call visitor post-arrival messaging. So that would be messaging you see at the airport, as well as reaching out when they're here about what they can see and do, safety issues and such that you may see at the airport, hotel, as well as through digital and online social media. Workforce also falls under that, as well as aloha, type of visitor aloha and support services. In the brand marketing, we have all of our major markets, and you're very familiar with them, US, Japan, Canada, Oceania, Korea, and China is a GSA. Oh, and Europe, sorry. People have asked, so the organization, the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau, has the contract for marketing and branding of the US market. So that's US East and US West in terms of the regional areas. We also have a contract to manage the island visitor bureaus. Each of the counties has a visitor bureau system. We contract to do things related to marketing mainly. So that would be organizing fam trips or familiar trips. So if, say, media or organizations or travel agencies need to know more information about new products that are happening and such, they're responsible for organizing that. They work with media locally to talk about their islands, as well as go on missions to promote island-specific programs and information. And then planning, we have been working with various contractors on doing our community stakeholder outreach in order to start our strategic planning work, which also includes the tourism functional plan. That's the statewide plan. Then we have our HTA plan, specifically what we will be doing. And then below the DMAP, or the Destination Management Action Plans, about specifically what islands, some of the issues that need to be addressed and the priorities that the islands feel are important. And so I think we went through many of these, what branding is all about the islands. I'm sorry, about each of the major areas. It also includes marketing of meetings, convention, and incentive business. Currently, that's a very important component. One, it fills the convention center. More importantly, it's what we call citywide, where it's multiple properties, conventions. Important component now is corporate incentive businesses, especially in international. In the international markets, those are the areas that have the money to travel right now, and we're doing very well in that. But that's more of a sales component than just advertising. So it's a lot of networking, providing what are the best offers, connect them to hotels or venues in order that they can negotiate. These meeting planners such can negotiate for the best rates. On the stewardship side, as we mentioned, many of you are familiar with what we've been doing with the Destination Management Action Plans, such as developing stewards in rural areas. So communities taking on responsibility of managing their areas that have in the past were impacted by visitors or just not having the current infrastructure to support traffic that's going through. We found that it's very successful if you actually have the local resident communities be involved in it. They benefit, many of them get donations or can sell products to visitors. So as well as they know where to go, what the safety issues are, and they're trained to do more of the issues with parking or traffic. They've been trained to do that. For the visitors' perspective, they enjoy seeing local people from that area tell about the stories of those sites more than you could with, say, a DLNR park ranger or something that's not familiar with everything. And they like to have that. More importantly for us also is to have that relationship building of residents and visitors interacting and seeing and sharing common bonds. Within that stewardship component is also the sports and signature events, as we mentioned. These are the major ones that we call them major because they have reached not only locally with local visitation and attendees, but also it draws in people from, or attendees and participants from outside of Hawaii to participate, or they see production. Many of them we have use them for media value because they're covered worldwide in terms of TV coverage, online coverage, etc. And whenever we do, we fund or partner with these programs or these events, we work on agreements to ensure that our assets, such as our commercials, our information, scripts, are all provided to them so that they can speak the right story and they're not creating any kind of crazy messaging, but sticking on our brand, but also aligning with many of our current advertising schemes and such, and we're getting added value because of that. It also, as sports is signature, it still have the resident component, which is they get to see things that they would not otherwise have done, especially for some of the international sports. It takes an incentive to get them here to participate, to support both the communities with additional training camps or investments. Like, for example, the Clippers recently redid at Nui Nui a new court and a computer center, the data center as well. And they were so appreciative because people have, in the past, Anuenue is one of those, as a fringe school, smaller school, and they didn't really get any of the benefits that some of the other programs have been on some of the main schools, and they're very appreciative of that. And for also, it's an exposure to an indigenous language school as well. You get that full global exposure through the Clippers. Workforce, oops, I skipped one, sorry, regenerative. So we talked about, building and shifting towards more regenerative tourism programs. So we have our community funding programs, which are currently going through the process to identify and programs from January to June of 2025. So these could be a festival, could be an actual tour that runs through the whole year. It could be a natural resource program that's supporting redevelopment of an area to ensure that it becomes more sustainable. And it benefits both the residents, but we also have a component that visitors should be integrated into their process. We market and promote through our global markets about these programs and events and activities so that visitors can come. We ensure that we have our resources on our website or training programs so that these nonprofits and small community groups know how to host visitors along the way as well. So as I mentioned, it's that interaction with the residents and visitors that continues to improve. Workforce development. There's still much more to do. We know that. From our industry side, we have been told much of the issues that have come about recently is not having qualified and interested workers, local workers here. And so an important part is our role is to work with the other parts of DBED to develop programs that increase interest in the visitor industry. And most importantly, many people don't understand the many facets. The youth coming up, they see the hotel, but they don't see that there's accountants in the back end of the hotel or computer programmers that are doing the social media and programming or the websites or advertising, marketing, PR people. So there's many facets in that, and we first expose them to the different jobs and opportunities that are available in the visitor industry. And then we provide training, internships, and such, and support through additional programs and partnerships that we're working through.
Daniel, can you sum
Oh,
up?
sorry.
Yeah, because I don't spread out for 15 minutes per, so you can,
Okay,
because everybody get the PowerPoint of it.
okay. Let me go to this then. I think one of the, you already know that, and you've seen our monthly reports, that it creates $21 billion in total visitor spending. But very important, I think, is the fact that of the $2.4 billion that's generated just in tax revenue alone from the visitor industry, we did a study back in 2023, and we're continuing now. Just in the US and Japan markets, the advertising that we did in 2023 generated $319 million in incremental additional tax revenue. So that means that's 5 times more than our actual operating budget for fiscal year 25. And that additional money that we're driving into the general fund will allow us to do the destination management, travel agent training programs, and support services. I think that's an important component. So let me just get to the very end. So the most important thing, as we mentioned, in the next 2 years, fiscal year 25 going into fiscal year 26 as part of our budget leading up to what we do in our budget ask, is the fact that we need to continue to stabilize what's happening in the US and the international market, US, Canada, and particularly Japan. So in the US and Canada, it's really moving towards, in marketing terms, lower down in the funnel to encourage people to come to Hawaii, to pick Hawaii as a destination. So we're working more with co-ops, working with industry partners to drive the business here. In Japan, it's building back the networks and investing in a long-term look, while still creating the initiative to come to Hawaii. If you're going to travel in your first travel after the pandemic, it's yapari, that we need to come back to Hawaii. where the safety and the known experience, and we can guarantee a good experience while you travel. And I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate that presentation and the PowerPoint that you gave us. I'm gonna open this up for questions, and then we're gonna go one after another, present, and then questions. We might have follow-up later.
Okay.
But, any questions from the committee?
I have a couple of questions. Daniel, how much, as I was going through your thing, what's the total amount of the contracts for CNHA? Because my understanding is they have a general contract, and then there's others that you mentioned in the questionnaire. So can you give us a breakdown of what that and how much that is? And then is that the same for HVCB as well?
Okay. So to go backwards, the smaller contracts that we have currently with CNHA, besides the support services for destination stewardship.
And that is how much? The major contract we have with them is how much?
Over 2 years. 27. Yeah, 27 over 2 years.
27 million. Okay, and then?
And then the smaller ones are, we have a Maui Recovery Visitor Education, which was 300,000. And we also have a marketing program to support the long-term resident housing, which was 25,000. We did engage in a $100,000 project to develop additional venues for small businesses on Maui, but that we ended up stopping the program because we couldn't find a location to create that maquette.
Okay, and then HVCB, do they have multiple contracts as well?
So for HVCB, we have our marketing contract of US. There's also the Meet Hawai'i, which is the marketing support for MCI travel. And then we have the island-based brand marketing, which is the Island Visitor Bureau. And then we have a smaller contract for global support services, which is mainly maintaining the database, providing data on global insights on various components, including airlines.
So what's that total?
I don't have that. Do you want to answer that? I don't have it right available. Oh, sorry. Read it out. Okay. Okay, the current for is the leisure, which is the US marketing, is 13.35 with the total for 2024 total contract over the period is 39 million. The marketing of MCI is 16 million. The support for the island visitor bureaus is 4.58. The global support services, which includes the website development, is 1.475. And then in the past, we had a contract to manage destination managers and implement destination management programs on island was 12.87. However, that contract is ending at the end of this year. And one last one, we had Maui wildfire emergency funds of 2.95. We can send this in writing back to you.
Yeah,
for
can you
total.
send it in columns? So,
Yeah,
you know,
just-
so we can see it. And does the MCI contract of 16 million includes the marketing of the convention center?
In total, it includes marketing of citywides, which includes the convention center as a venue, yes.
And then the branding, you said the branding of the US marketing is HVCB.
Of the US market, yes.
So does CNHA do any kind of marketing?
If advertising and marketing, no. They do messaging of when visitors arrive here on safety and things to do, awareness and
So they
such.
don't do any marketing? All the
No,
marketing is
not
done
advertising,
by
marketing.
HVCB.
Correct.
Yeah, so 'cause
There-
I'm having a hard time understanding.
The way to look at it is pre-arrival and post-arrival. So CNHA is responsible for after the visitor comes to Hawaii. marketing and branding is before you come to Hawaii.
Okay, I have others, but I'll mute.
Yes, for the economic part about, I've only been here for a short time, and I keep hearing about how we're not educating our people for these jobs that the foreigners come and pretty much is the managers and, I know we're doing small kind of stuff, but I still don't hear the mechanism that you guys are supposed to be, or should be using to reach out to the schools and the colleges, and maybe even have one, like one committee in each of the colleges, or whatever it is, because the part that I always bring up here, and it always hits me on the head, because we always talk about agriculture, yeah? And, you guys know I'm a big supporter of hemp and moving forward with hemp as us being the next pineapple for our industry. But what I don't see is that showing the kids or the young people coming up here that is being brainwashed to saying that we don't need tourism and how important tourism is. So how are we reaching the kids, not just only in the high school or the colleges, but how are we reaching the kids in the middle schools and the elementary schools? Because when we did on statewide or an island-wide education on recycling, they had every single age group to kind of educate them on a sense of recycling, or that was just recycling. Mm-hmm. This is one of the biggest industries that we have. Without tourism, there's nothing else. There's nothing for ag, there won't be no hemp, there won't be no land to farm the land, because there's no funding. So how can we hit that home, because that's what you talked about, that we're not doing this. So how are we gonna go this time, this session, or moving forward, that you guys actually gonna do this kind of marketing to the kids so that they can have on academies, or even at the universities, because that's where we're losing them. Because when they're coming up from the elementary schools, they think tourism is our enemy. Yeah, a lot of the rural areas. So they don't know in the rural areas, a lot of them benefit from tourism, but we need to educate them. So how can you guys do something like that?
So we do have a fully developed workforce development plan, and we'll send that forward to you all. The components are very much what you had mentioned. So there are academies and specialized programs in the main schools that we support through both the DOE as well as through the university system. We are also working to develop the issue that we found in the study that we conducted. It's actually the industry partnerships that have been very difficult. The offering of the internships, the exposure to the industry. So we've been working very closely. Over this year, we're actually going to put more emphasis on creating the industry partnerships, which is exactly in line with the other industries that we've been working with through DBEDS, DLIR, and the Chamber. They've done it for each of the other sectors, but tourism wasn't part of the initial efforts that have been done over the past couple of years. So tourism is now working closely with the same process. In terms of the information, besides what's coming into the school system, we also do a exposure program, what we call through Climb High and Lay, what we call the Lay program, where students at the high school level and middle school are exposed to various businesses. We do a big kind of trade show, workforce exposure, we do multiple islands. And then part of it, we follow it with WorkWise, which is actually allowing them to then find jobs for the summer in placing them in industry. So we'll send that plan to you and show where we need the support.
Yeah, so one follow-up. The reason why I'm saying this is because the average student that don't want to go to college or not going to be able to make it college, they don't realize that they can have a very good career in the tourism industry. But that's the component that I think in the rural area schools that is struggling to go to college, to have a good job, only thinking that they're going to go construction. Construction industry is not as strong on the neighbor islands, but going forward, how can we strengthen that in the rural area so that somebody know that they can come right out of high school and enter the industry so that they can be successful in 20, 30 years.
We do support that same concept and working diligently with the partners to get that information out to the DOE and to reach out in multiple ways. I think now we're also working on the same platforms that the other industries are working on. There's a website for people looking for information about where they want to, their career placement and such. So we're developing the assets and components that can put on there for the visitor industry that was left off in the past. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Kim.
Follow-up question on that.
Sure.
So on the line of education, on page 9 of your statute, it says Hawaiian culture, education, and training. What is the cost of that, and how does that coincide with what Senator Favela just told you?
Page 9.
Hawaiian Cultural Education and Training Program is provided for the members of the visitor industry workforce and who have direct contact with visitors. So how much money is that you folks put into that, and who's doing that?
I don't know offhand. Let me check see if Kalani knows. On our budgeted line item, yeah. For fiscal year 25. So right now in our budget line item, it was 250,000. So the kind of programs like that would be,
Can you just send us what exactly you folks are doing?
yes.
And is that doing with CNHA, or is that with somebody else?
In the past, done with multiple organizations. The main one was the Native Hawaiian Hospitality Association. They have a lot of curriculum, and in fact, they do it with the state and offer free training programs for state employees as well. I'm sure you've received some of their emails that have come across.
So is that part of the 250,000, or that's?
Well, we haven't contracted it, put it out bid yet, but that would be the type of programming that we have to put out for this year. This is fiscal year 25, 250.
This is kind of a much broader question, but I think in light of, Governor Green's recent visit to Las Vegas, he was very interested in talking more about partnerships between Hawaii and other destination areas. And with so many people watching, the baseball series that have been going on over the last several weeks, it's kind of interesting that he noted that, Shohei Ohtani owns a home on the Big Island. And I said, wow, it's hard to believe that Hawaii potentially, might be able to also capitalize on a lot of the baseball interests in Hawaii. Because more of the schools in the past were very strongly oriented, to baseball programs. And so I was just kind of wondering whether, HTA folks had been part of that visit that Governor Green was on, and if not, are there areas that you are interested in pursuing?
So baseball, yes, is particularly working with the Dodgers, is high on our list of priorities. In fact, you can see I have multiple emails every day trying to identify. It's very difficult to get into the system, but not only bringing audience from LA and the West Coast, but also because he's so very popular in Japan. So we're working to try to identify common programs and tying up partnerships with programs both in Japan. They're going to be doing an exhibition game later in the year in March. And we have made contacts and pushed out to reach out to that. And as you know, we've just done the basketball games with the Clippers and of course Golden State Warriors, bringing them here, which they would never have come if we didn't have the Clippers program and relationship. And everyone loved that during that time. But it also exposes us, gives better exposure of the Hawaiian Islands on the West Coast, which those islands are. Yes. So it is a high priority on the baseball side. And of course, as I mentioned, anytime we do partnership with a professional organization or an international sport, we include in our partnership agreements or contracts that there is a community component, give back component, and there are multiple ways, including training camps with the professionals, as well as donations and to maybe schools and other programs.
I guess that also means that we also have to fulfill, some of our obligations to finish a replacement Aloha Stadium, someplace. And, with all the interest in baseball this year, I am really astounded at how much global interest there is. It was really, kind of dramatic for
Yeah,
the
in
governor
fact-
to have said that.
In Japan, right, whenever he's up, Shohei's up, all news stops and they broadcast his time, and then they go back to any news or programming, that last, so that's how popular it is on both sides.
Oh, thank you. Daniel, I wanted to follow up on that, and, as you know, sports have been super interesting for me. The rural areas have really struggled, and, when you talk sports, they're like boom, and, as best as I can try and diversify tourism to include our kids in those areas, as Senator Fukunaga said, you hear Shohei Ohtani, he's now in Hawaii. We look at stuff like that, and I can tell you when the clinic, Polynesian football team group was in Maui, it like took it by storm. It's huge. The kids then, they're gonna hold GPA, they like play. Those are really good. My question is, when these proposals that come up for contracts or events, and I was in LA as well, and I saw so much that I felt helped us to promote tourism at that level. I'm like just so stoked, because I've stayed out of the sports scene for a while. I picked up some weight, so I kind of like was trying to, but I was just stoked because they were pumping out our HTA logo. I just was like amazed on how we can utilize sports to market, right? Because, my thing is trying to educate myself as well. When we come to one proposal for like on contract or event sponsorship, so say whether it's between HTA and HVCB develop, what is the criteria we use during one vetting process? Like, is there a vetting process that happens, or how does that work?
So let me go through the process itself. So we receive proposals in multiple ways. The teams themselves or, their agents or organizations send us proposals that they've looked at and see how it fits into venues. Are very important because if they don't have the venue, they can't play here or anything. We also have our staff at times try to identify partnerships and create opportunities, and then send it to the teams and see what they can match and create a program, and then send the proposals to us. All our proposals are vetted. First off, they have to be procured through 103D since we are a state agency. So we go through that whole process of the review, having the proposals. We have to get, if it's a sole source, because say there's only one team allowed to play basketball, for example. The Clippers is the only one allowed to play here in Hawaii because of the way the arrangements are. Our state is assigned to the Clippers in terms of the overall system. And so we also go through the procurement office to allow a sole source purchase or such, and a negotiation for that. Now, the vetting criteria, I can send you some of that. Most importantly, of course, as I mentioned, it's the appeal of the sport to the our destination itself, the opportunities that we have both for marketing outside of Hawaii and promotion, like are there opportunities to do it at the game or by media whenever they're broadcasting? Many of them come with, say, for example, our Big West work. It's all year round. They present ads. It's not just at a game. We actually buy opportunity. Part of the agreement is that Hawaii will show up, the Hawaiian Islands, et cetera. Our assets will be produced with the whole year through the whole season and such. That's on the
So the
marketing
reason why I
side.
ask you is
Yeah.
because I try not understand myself, because as you know, when the Rams was playing against San Francisco 49ers, I'm like, holy smokes. Like, that's like, Hawaii is a strong 49er, and I'm trying to figure out how do we diversify and reach out in whether or not to get marketing in that direction. So I'm just trying to figure out, is there a process, or they cannot be touched in marketing and so forth? Because, my family, or should I say my in-laws, are like all 49ers, so it was like, hey, Lynn, what's up with this? But is there an opportunity to also work with other, say, football teams when I gotta get one floating on a flag flying outside my house and I'm like, go Puka, go, and and then they're helping us market, all in camaraderie and sportsmanship. So that's like kind of asking that question, is there opportunity for other sports teams to also help us market via HTA or the state of Hawaii, as other options?
Maybe I'm not understanding. So we do work with the NFL, and they help us with the selection of the team. If we have an interest in one of the teams, we will make that known.
So in this case, so does HTA play one role in reviewing or inputting if we have one contract that comes out? And like the sponsorship, is it outlined in a brand management plan or before an approval, or how does that work?
So in the, we have a vetting list recently we produced a sports plan, and we also have a sports strategic plan. And one of the things we'll be doing this year is putting out for a contractor to look at both vetting, but also to create an updated strategic plan for sports. As you know, at the national level, sports has become a high priority for the federal government. And, some of the speakers that came, Alex Lazary from our tourism office talked about how sports is now being supported through federal dollars and Brand USA as well.
Yeah, so I was talking
So
with
we need to
him.
update,
Yeah, so I was talking, with him at the tourism conference. So like, even when we talked and how, they have been major contributors as well, his family, right? I thought that was super interesting. So say like, I'm on the board, right? And like, I wanna like start with San Francisco 49ers. Is it in like my purview to say, hey, I like talk story and hook up one direct event and then come back and say, hey, board, this is what we're looking at. Is that something conversation we have, or?
We have conversations to start the process, but in the end, they need to submit a proposal. We can go back and forth to negotiate to get it closer to what we feel are the benefits needed for Hawaii and our marketing components as well. And then it has to go through a procurement process. So we have to show that we've gone through it. It's a fair assessment. It has the best use for the dollars. Right? It's the most effective and efficient proposal.
So now that we've talked, and so we went, right, and we saw, and I really like what I saw. When we talk about, say, the LA Rams, like, do we have a contract with them?
It's not a
They're looking-
contract yet. They're still working to refine their proposal. At the point where the proposal meets our criteria, then we will go through the procurement process to actually sign a contract.
At that time, do we have a program manager to do that, or who
So
handles that?
we have a brand manager assigned to sports. Right now it's vacant and we're currently hiring. And as I mentioned, we also are looking for a contract consultant to help strengthen and redevelop our sports program, including vetting some of these.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions? Okay, we're probably gonna come back later with other questions, but if we can move on. Thank you, Daniel, that was super helpful. And then up next, we have Board Chair Mufi Hanami. Thank you. Thank you, Chair, for being here. I know you've been traveling abroad.
Good to be here, thank you. It's my privilege and pleasure to be here on behalf of our 12-member board of the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and I bring greetings from them and also gratitude and appreciation for all the support that we have received from the Senate and the House, especially during the last legislative session, where we were able to now be included in the budget where it's recurring. We no longer have been defunded. We have a base that we start with now of 63 million, and we build from there. Instructions are very clear from the executive branch that as we are mindful of the fiscal situation in the state, we should ask for what we need and be sure that we can defend it. And secondly, that there will be other competing agencies that will also be asking. I want to start first this morning, therefore, with sports. I want to give a little more enthusiasm than what our president and CEO gave on this subject, because I really believe this is a major, major, major opportunity. When you ask the question, can board members get involved? I'm looking at Sean D. When Sean D was on the board, he was very helpful in having the Dallas Cowboys come here and play a game. So yes, we do anxiously engage in sports. The governor is very interested in sports, and I know all of you are interested in sports. So let me put it this way. The existing sports arrangements that we have, I've said to the staff, let's not look at it that just because we did it that way last year, that there's no opportunities to grow it. So case in point, Thanksgiving weekend, we will see 8 of the best college basketball teams in the nation come for the Maui Classic in Lahaina. They're estimating between 6,000 to 7,000 people are going to come and watch that game. So the natural conclusion was, in talking with Kalani and talking with Kuhio, was, what about a pop-up makeke to go along and taking advantage of these people that are going to come here and be willing to help Lahaina and watch some of the greatest basketball that the country witnesses each and every year. So that's in the works right now. That's going to happen. When we were in Japan, you're so right. Shohei is the man. We are already reaching out to every connection that I have, others have, to see how we can get Shohei maybe to do an ad or go something like this. I may be born in Japan, I work in California, but when I want to relax, where do I go? To my home in Kona. That would be great. It's not going to be easy. Obviously, there's an lot of competition for his services, but we do know we have a hook. The fact that of all the places he could have chosen to buy a home, he did it here. I'm wearing a Yankee shirt here today. Aaron Judge got married on Maui. Patrick Mahomes got married on Maui. There's a natural tie-in and affinity for all these sports athletes to want to do something. So I really believe we have an opportunity to really grow that part of it. Madam Chair, you were at the meeting that we had, the Hawaii Tourism Conference, where it's really clear our nation sees sports industry as a major initiative. I've already put out a feeler, because I'm on the Travel Tourism Advisory Board. When the Olympics occur and they're going to play it in Los Angeles, let's see how we can get our country to help us have those Asian countries that are going to fly to the Olympics in LA stop here in Hawaii. And, yes, we do have some limitations with venues and the like, but there's other sports that we could have them spend 3 or 4 days here, get a little more practice session here, feel the spirit of aloha as we send them off to Los Angeles. So that's an idea that I'm reaching out to get some national help in. You mentioned the Rams situation. They very much want to come to Maui. And here's an example of that. We don't need an Aloha Stadium for them to be interested. They just want to come here and do some spring training here, okay? And they want to come in the spring. And if they come in the spring, they're talking about bringing the families of the players. They're talking about doing clinics. They're talking about engaging the community. They're talking about bolstering flag football for women, which now is going to be a major interscholastic league sport. So the timing couldn't have been better for something like that. They're talking about renovating, refurbishing a school in that area. So this is something that is a high priority for us at HTA. We'd like to see that happen. And here's the other connection. The owner of the Rams also owns the Denver Nuggets. So we said, can we throw that on the table? Can we talk about that to see whether the Nuggets might want to also come to Hawaii? When the Golden State Warriors were here, they were the first team to do a clinic out on the North Shore. Before, it was just the LA Clippers, and the Clippers have done a wonderful job. Not only do they do clinics, but they also renovate a school. They go in and they kind of upgrade their classroom to be more like a tech lab, and then they resurface the basketball courts. This year, based on our recommendation, they did a Nui Nui school. And that was really great for us, especially from a destination management stewardship standpoint. It's the only K through 12 public school or where native Hawaiian language is a major curriculum there. So the Golden State Warriors, when they were here, also expressed to the governor their interests of wanting to come also on a regular basis. So we have a lot of opportunities, Madam Chair. The question is, do we have the capabilities to pull it off? I believe we do, but it's also going to take some additional funding and resources to do that as well. But there's no lack of interest. And I think we are sitting right now at an opportunity to capitalize on this initiative because of where we are as a state, but also that our country sees sports tourism as a major growth opportunity. And we'd be wise to try to capitalize on that. I also wanted to say that workforce development, Senator Favela, I think what has been missing all these years on the workforce development with respect to the hospitality industry is that we really haven't had much state support for doing internships or apprenticeships or what have you. And that's because the feeling has been, the hotels can do that, or the private sector should be doing that. I think our feeling is this: we're the #1 industry in the state that continues to provide the greatest number of jobs. If we can tap into some of that, we could accelerate the things that you're talking about, where the kids learn at an early age that this could be a wonderful opportunity for someone that wants to go in the tourism industry. Because the beauty of the hospitality industry is that you can have very little education or a lot of education, and you've got a great career path. So if this is going to continue to be the greatest provider of jobs, how do we accelerate that, and how do we tap into some state funding to make that happen? So we would like to also make that a major pillar of what we do. I see our biggest challenge, Madam Chair, with HTA is that because you have codified destinations management, destination stewardship of a major pillar, we have to make sure that we fulfill those mandates that you folks have put into statute of what we need to do to bring that to pass. The job of HTA is to seek that delicate balance between marketing and management. One cannot do without the other. And right now we have major examples of it working together. Case in point, LA, the saturation mission that we did, 100 businesses participated in the 1.5 million that we put forward, the special funding that our board approved, where it was a 3-to-1 return on investment. 60 businesses participated on the marketing saturation side, so that they were able to basically say, come to Hawaii, the people, the place, the Hawaii Islands welcome you. And then they laid on incentives on top of that, where they're able to say, you come now, 3 rooms free, you get the 4th, 3 rooms you pay for, you get the 4th night free, whatever it is, those incentives. 40 businesses participated in the pop-up Makeke side. 10 of them were from Maui that went in Venice, California to have that. And then it culminated in that sports event. Our plan in talking with HVCB and with Kilohana is to do the same template in San Francisco. The governor and the mayor were wonderful. They made it real clear in their messaging on that trip that Hawaii is open, Maui is open, and now is the time to come. We'd like to do the same in San Francisco and across the continent, because that is our base market. So the trip to Japan, is my last note with you here, was also very helpful. When we were there, I think they pointed out some things that we could be doing, because everyone says, well, the yen is weak, they're not going to come. But they said that young market there is eager to travel. They're looking for places to go. They're not going to be dissuaded by the fact that the yen is weak, what have you. Some of them come from very wealthy families that want them to come. They also said sports was a major thing that they'd like to see. So discussions are already in place about maybe having a pickleball tournament here, where we would, Hawaii versus Japan, with our legislators opening it up, it being the opening match there and so forth. Because now we have a beautiful, beautiful pickleball courts that is purchased by a convention center in Terry Orton. So we see that as an opportunity to continue to grow. We also talked about meetings, conventions, and incentives. Usually, sometimes people don't think that that's a good market for us in Japan. They made it clear to us when we went to the expo that that's something that they would come to Hawaii for if we were able to promote that in that regard. So these, I think, are wonderful ways to look at. Yes, we know it's a tough situation that we face. Maui's situation continues to hamper the rest of the state, but we're seeing good signs, we're seeing good progress, and I really believe we have a good game plan to bring together the best of what we do, which is marketing, management, and stressing workforce development in the process.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that more robust of spots. I love it. So I wanna jump back because the subject matter of roles and responsibilities of HTA is the agenda. But I wanted to jump back on of course, workforce, what Senator Favela talked about. I know there was an outreach within the program and internship. Some of the, I'm gonna say this, I'm not taking favoritism. I'm from Molokai, and I think our challenge has been super huge in trying to educate, or at least find those that have been interested in coming under the program that was there. Is there an opportunity because of DMAP and as we run through the destination management program for them also to be included, and how that selection process would go, as Senator Favela has alluded to, in some of these areas that have been left out? I think it's super important that these areas all have that opportunity, whether it be on a percentage basis of 1 per 7,000 population, or because when we leave one behind, it doesn't give the opportunity for them to say, okay, this is what I learned. Climb High was awesome. I think the LAIR program, as I start to educate myself more, coming from an island that have had its struggles of tourism, I think it gives us an opportunity to say, see, we're not leaving anybody out. We're giving that opportunity. So I wanna bring that up, because I know Lanai had the opportunity because of the hotel that they're able to come and intern in. The other thing I want to focus on, I was so grateful because LA also had been very grateful in helping Lahaina recover and the contributions they made, which, we went there and we aloha them. But I want to go back to, is it proper when, because sometimes I jump out of my lane and I go, hey, I think this is a good idea. The interaction between a contract and how a member or board member, is that in alignment of what the responsibility is? Only because I've been spanked myself saying, hey, you're jumping out of your lane, like get back in your lane. So is that common?
No,
to
no,
happen?
Senator, my feeling is this, because as you know, I've sat on that side of the table and I sit on this side of the table and so forth. To me, you shouldn't be prohibited to offer what you think is a good idea, especially if it benefits your constituents. And then it's our responsibility then to bring it back to the staff. They're the ones that cross the Ts and dot the Is. And that's been a practice, I think, with every board that I've been on, whether it's private or public sector. And it's always going to be based on, are the funds available to do that? Does it justify the criteria in terms of the release of the funds and so forth? So I think that's something that shouldn't prevent any legislator, as far as I'm concerned, to come forward with ideas, whether it's you, a member of this committee, or anyone that sits in this building, because these are public dollars that we're dealing with. And so therefore you should have a say. But we also have to abide by the fact that there's always going to be some budgetary restrictions, some criteria requirements and so forth. And so you just got to find that healthy balance. I always used to say, if not this, or if we can't do it, then maybe there's someone else that can help. And that's when having the reach to go into the private sector, maybe a nonprofit group can do that. Case in point is what's going to be happening in Maui again on November 2nd. UH men's and women's basketball team are going to play a game there, a preseason game against Chaminade University. This is hopefully will lead to maybe a regular season game next year. Well, HTA did not have it in its funds to do this, so partnering with and reaching out to the Hawaii Community Foundation, thanks to Mike Akane and those folks, they're helping to make it happen and working with University of Hawaii, and they're very happy to see that. So there are ways, even when we can't do it within the HTA funds, because of the 12-member board that we have here, other people, we can reach out and ask for kokua on a good idea. It should be funded, it should be helped, and make it materialize.
Yeah, because I'm just looking back and forth, whether from our perspective or from a board perspective, what is compliant. I guess. I don't know, compliance, but I just know like later on down the road, like, hey, you're not supposed to do that. You know, I want us to make sure we understand our roles and responsibilities.
Sure.
So, anyway, anybody else have any questions? Sorry, I love the sports part of this.
Yeah. But you know, my saying is, say sorry, and ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission. Anyway, moving forward.
You do the report.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, going forward about sports, it's a big thing. Not that Campbell High School is still number one in a way. Sorry. I know what I had to go
mention
there.
that.
First time in history.
Coach by the Hooper boys, by the way.
Sorry.
Coach by the Hooper boys, by the way.
Sorry. Anyway, one of the reasons why I bring that up is in our side, and this is something I'm going to go back when I was very young, big supporter of Uncle Frank Fossey, when he had the vision to bring out stadium into our community, and now we still get about, the university have over 200 to 400 acres out there, you know, to continue to clutter and congest the mid part of area where we have already a lot of things going on. You know, what would be on your perspective? You know, I know we don't have to say, I'm bringing this up a lot because my community is saying this now, but when Frank Fossey brought up the idea, I remember the reason why they shut him down. And these are the words that they had used. Why are we gonna bring one stadium all the way out there? Nobody lived there. This is how much vision this man had in moving that thing out there, because we have the freeway. Now we get the north-south road. We get on and off the freeway. We have the best possible way of moving congestion and having them over here in this area with highly congestion area and what we're trying to do. And then we're gonna downsize the amount of people. You guys know sports, like our chair just said, it's a big thing. Why are we gonna downsize an economy that would be bringing revenue if we're bringing in San Francisco 49ers, LA Rams, all these sports teams to come to one stadium that you can't even fit one high school team? So moving forward to broaden the aspect of all of these sports network, because in Kailo, we have a lot of opportunities, Chair, just to bring up, that Parks and Rec have another 400 acres, yeah, that they cannot develop because they have no money. Why don't we bring something like the Olympics, come over here and build one training center, and they stay into the Navy's atmosphere of sports and recreation. So those are the things that I think, other stuff, millions of things that you guys have and we have to start looking for, because that's going to be the economic driving engine besides our beautiful West Side University. I'm just going through that, and I know I brought this up before.
No, thank you, Senator Ravella, but,
Sorry.
sorry, I actually went off. But anybody get questions on roles and responsibilities of Hawaii Tourism Authority? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Chair.
Hey, I was not a mayor and loved the West Side too, you know.
Can you spell, can you spell his name?
Okay, next up, overview of Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau and Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement. Aaron Salah, please. Thank you.
Nalila, Kavilino Te Aloha Yakakou Pakahi, Aloha Chair DeCoit, Member Fukunaga, Member Kim, Member Favela. Very good to be here with you. My name is Aaron Salah, President and CEO of the Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau as of the 1st of September this year. Just shy of 2 months on this job. I thank you for this opportunity to sit before you today, and I acknowledge my friends and colleagues, our client in the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and from the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement and its Kilohana Collective, Aloha Nui Kākou. In reference to the committee's questions with specific regard to HVCB, we know that HTA submitted a package in writing in response to your questions. And my team worked with HTA to provide these answers to this committee's questions. In order to contextualize the HVCB in our role as contractor to the Hawaii Tourism Authority, and therefore on behalf of the state of Hawaii, allow me to offer a bit of background on the organization and a review of our current contracts with the HTA. The Hawaii Visitors and Convention Bureau is a private nonprofit organization incorporated in 1945 with antecedents leading thereto commencing with the establishment of the Hawaii Tourist Bureau in 1903, some 121 years ago. With 64 total employees, the organization is headquartered in the state of Hawaii, with physical offices on Oahu, Kauai, Maui, and Hawaii Island, and virtual offices on the continental United States, in Taiwan, and in Australia. In partnership with its members, HVCB amplifies state funding through our contracts with HTA to promote Hawaii as a premier destination aligned with HTA's strategic vision. In partnership then with the HTA, the HVCB implements and executes on behalf of 5 contracts. The Hawaii Tourism Destination Brand Management and Marketing, USMMA contract, which provides comprehensive marketing services for the Hawaiian Islands in the United States market, the state of Hawaii's largest market. The primary focus of this is to enhance the Hawaiian Islands' brand awareness and desirability amongst targeted US travelers by aligning marketing initiatives with HTA's strategic plan. The Global MCI Market Services contract, global meetings, conventions, and incentives for both citywide events held at the Hawaii Convention Center and single property events held throughout the Hawaiian Islands, nurturing the high-spending MCI visitor through in-destination promotion and pre-post arrival opportunities throughout the state. Global Support Services provides support for Hawaii Tourism Authority's global GMTs in the US, Canada, Oceania, Japan, Korea, China, and Europe markets, covering market insights, air service, management and development of creative and digital assets, and social media, website, and application development and maintenance functions. Attachment S1 of the primary contract, Daniel touched on this, as did Chair Hanneman. HVCB hired 1 destination manager per county to direct, supervise, and implement on behalf of the Destination Management Action Plan programs, and also manage the island-specific and statewide community enrichment programs and signature event programs in 2023. The destination managers worked with HTA, various government agencies, industry partners, organizations, and community members to move forward action and actions for each island's DMAP programs. Finally, the Island Destination Brand Management and Marketing Services contract. This is the liaison among government agencies, industries, and community partners, the goal of which is to collaborate with HTA global marketing teams to support developing and implementing trade familiarization programs and related programs and events. If I can go directly to your question, Senator.
Please.
Does HVCB get funding and have contracts with each of the counties? Directly, no. However, some counties provide funding that goes directly to their respective island chapter offices. HVCB then receives a 10% administrative fee, which is deployed to support the respective teams, island teams directly. County of Hawaii to Island Hawaii Visitors Bureau then is $325,000 in fiscal year 25. IHVB county funds align with the County of Hawaii Tourism Strategic Plan, specifically their Pono-based communications initiatives. County of Maui to Maui Visitors and Convention Bureau is $250,000 in fiscal year 25. County funds may only be used for community-based programs, no marketing efforts. County of Kauai to Kauai Visitors Bureau, $250,000 in FY 25. Funding is directed towards DMAP and film projects and in support of Kauai sister cities. Of these 3, both Kauai and Maui go through an RFP process with the county each year. Island of Hawaii is a line item because it participates in the realization of their Pono-based communications in their strategic plan. The Oahu Visitors Bureau receives no funding from the City and County of Honolulu. Regarding HVCB Island Chapter staff, are those positions solely funded by HVCB, and who sets the guidance for the Island Chapter staff and destination manager roles on each island? Whom do they report to? The Island Chapter Executive Directors and their respective teams are primarily funded through the HTA Island Destination Brand Marketing Management and Marketing Services contract with supplemental support through HVCB private funds. The IVBs operate within a collaborative structure. Each staff reports to their respective EDs, who report to the Managing Director, Island Visitors Bureau. This is currently Sue Kanoho from Kauai. The Managing Director reports to the President and CEO of HVCB, myself. IVBs coordinate and collaborate both and with each other and within the central marketing team on overall strategy while managing island-specific initiatives. They also provide essential support for all HTA marketing teams and the Meet Hawaii team. HTA's island-based destination managers were formally contracted through HVCB, and their work was guided by the scope to direct, supervise, and implement DMAP-guided programs. Those destination managers were IVB staff and reported to their respective EDs. As of 31 October, HVCB will no longer employ destination managers, as the positions have been created at the Hawaii Tourism Authority for fiscal year 25 and beyond. They now report to the Chief Stewardship Officer at the HTA. Contracts between HVCB and HTA are procured pursuant to HRS 103D. Proposals are vetted by staff, and contracts are ultimately approved by the HTA President and CEO as designated by HRS 201B3A3. On the HVCB side, currently authorized personnel are President and CEO Aaron J. Salah, Chief Operating Officer Tom Mullen, and Chief Marketing Officer Jay Talwar. For event sponsorships contracted by HVCB as part of their work for HTA, partnerships are authorized in an approved annual brand management plan, which is vetted and approved by HTA staff and endorsed and adopted by the HTA board. Allow me to acknowledge the HVCB's board chair, Sean D., Chief Commercial Officer, I should say, at the Outrigger Hospitality Group here today. Chair D has been instrumental in effecting positive change at our organization and is supporting our evolution as the HVCB commences a strategic planning process that we are confident will energize and reinvigorate the work that we do as a private nonprofit organization working on behalf and in support of our home, Hawaii. I'll do my best here to answer any questions the committee might have of me, but may have to beg your pardon as I'm still learning the ropes of our organization, as it were. Should a question arise to which I do not have an immediate answer, I assure the committee that I will work with my team to provide responses to your questions post-haste. Mahalo nui. Chair, if you don't mind, that I respond to a few of the questions from Member Fukunaga and Member Favela. In terms of and to yourselves, Chair, part of the work with sports tourism and anything in Hawaii, as we know, is relationships. And so the relationships are long horizon. Mr. Otani is the chief ambassador for JAL. And so working through Eric Takahata and his team to solidify a relationship, that should be no problem, no brainer in working with the HTA. I also want to note that Sean shared with me, Chair D shared with me this morning that one of the owners of Cirque is also part owner of the Dodgers. And so engaging, our relationships and leveraging those private Yankees. Sorry, Yankees. Thank you. Thank you for the redirect. Oh, I'm gonna get it for that one. But I think these long-standing relationships and leveraging those relationships in a public-private way will be key to the success of sports partnerships in the future. Also, Senator Favela, when you were talking earlier about workforce development, I come from a generation where everything was get a college degree, get a college degree, get a college. You want a good job, you get a college degree. And so I did. I got 3 college degrees. And what you point to this morning is something I know that Kuhio is an absolute master at. That is workforce development. It is what CNHA does exceedingly well. But I think personally, for myself, my mother does not have a college degree. Neither do either of my in-laws have a college degree. All of them worked in the industry. My mother worked for Iconic Catamarans for Rudy Choi. They saw their beginning of the Polynesian Voyaging Society as a result of that work with Rudy Choi and his team at Iconic Catamarans. Carl Ussing, my father-in-law, opened the Prince Hotel as a bellman. He retired just a couple years ago as a bellman at the Prince Hotel. He never aspired to management. He just wanted to be one of the guys. My mother-in-law, Patty, ran Hallmark Aviation, the station here that flies Qantas, AirNZ, Fiji Airlines, etc. The two of them have 2 daughters who are now aspiring toward a PhD. My wife holds a PhD. Her sister is attaining a PhD. Their house is paid off. They have no mortgage. They have raised an incredible family. And so when you talk about workforce development, Senator Favela, that is something I hold near and dear. It is something I have to learn. It is not something that we at HVCB are experienced at. I will share this with you. At the tourism conference, there was a panel where in which the DOE had representation. I was able to see Superintendent Hayashi later that week and shared with him that HVCB would make a commitment to meet with him in his office to talk about the potential of HVCB serving as a clearinghouse for internships with the DOE and our private partners at the HVCB, such that we can create workforce development in the industry directly, to your point, from the middle school onward, and engaging youth to understand the potential and the power of the industry to provide livelihoods that can sustain our families here in Honolulu, in Hawaii, and beyond. Mahalo nui a kākou. Thank you very much, Chair.
No, mahalo, and congratulations on your position.
Thank you, Chair.
There's a lot of stuff you gotta do.
Yes.
So I look forward to like working with you.
Likewise, absolutely.
You know, and we can educate ourselves
Yes.
together. I think this.
I look
that's
forward to that.
Super good. You know, thank you for your presentation and.
Thank you.
You know, I just want to comment on what you said. You know, I proud of you on your degrees.
Yeah.
You know, I think at some point our families have sacrificed so that
Absolutely.
our kids in the next generation get better education. I think this is where we as legislators have provided, and, you know, we look towards options. Sometimes college isn't for the next generation, which is why I full on appreciate workforce development, whether it be the film industry, where kids in my area at least are more hands-on. You know, they like the vocational, do the thing, not have to rehash. So I really appreciate what you said, Aaron.
Thank you.
And I'll open up for questions for
Thank you,
the
Chair.
committee first. Senator Favela?
No, just congratulations and thank you for sharing, because it's like for me, my mom, you know, worked at Waikiki Banyan one, the towers are there, and I knew the industry when they first were starting getting the unions together. So I understand the ups and downs and the hardships, but it provided a good means for our family of that time, was 6 of us, to do really well. So appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
sharing.
sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Robel. Senator Kim. Thank you, Aaron. Let me just say that I come from a place where HVCB had the entire contract when I was tourism chair. And so all of this branding, marketing, and CNHA, and global services, and global meetings, and destination management is very confusing as to where are the lines? And so the question I have is, you talked about global support services, global meetings, single events. So what's the difference, or what's the global support services, and how does that differ to what HCNA is doing? CNHA is doing?
Yeah. Let me come to your question from two positions. One on MCI, and the other on destination stewardship, destination management, destination
I'm
marketing.
quite familiar with MCI as it was
Okay.
in the past, right?
Okay,
You do
okay.
convention marketing, hotels, you work with all these conventions that is coming, and, you know, and I have an issue on that, and
Sure.
have had that in a while, that I felt, and I still feel that the convention center should market it, the convention center, as each hotel market their own hotels. And at the day that the hotels go to HVCB and ask you guys to market them, then perhaps that's a time that our convention center should be marketing by somebody else. Because you should eat, sleep, and know your property. And if there's a complaint, your property, you should be the one to respond and not a third party. But again, I hold that and continue to hold that. But, so from there, you can get to the global services,
Okay.
support services?
So as has to do especially with our offices on each of the neighbor islands, Maui, Oahu, Hawai'i, Kauai, the teams on each of these islands is responsible to HVCB as a central hub, but also responsible to responsible to the US marketing contract, but also responsible to assist each of the GMTs, each of the major marketing areas in their work. So for instance, Kauai has a responsibility to the US, but also has a responsibility to support the work of HTJ, H2 Oceania, et cetera, right? And so through a contract with HTA, we provide support services to these GMTs.
So you folks not only do the US marketing as that contract is, but now you do global as well?
We support the work of the global marketing teams, yes.
So who actually does the global marketing?
So HTA, keep me honest, Daniel. So HTA has several GMTs that divvied up
Right.
the way that
The
HTA
five
has.
major marketing areas.
Right.
As the old way.
And so those contractors are, our responsibility through that particular contract, the global support services contract, is to support the work of each of these GMTs. That is distinct from the US leisure market.
Okay, so support meaning what?
Yeah.
So there's two ways of support. First, global support meaning things such as maintaining the Go Hawaii website, working with each of the partners in country to produce the information that's needed on the website. So that's what we charge them with. Also providing research and airline stats, et cetera, working with airlines on route development. That's also to support each of the international
And that's a
organizations.
separate contract.
No, that's part of global support services. It's
Yeah,
all the
but
things that
global
you need.
support services is separate from their major contract. the
Correct.
USS.
Correct.
US market.
So that's all the market. So it's all the things that a marketer needs here in Hawaii in order to support the work that they're doing, because particularly in the international, they're based in country. So, they won't be able to operate the FAMs through the IVBs or the Island Visitor Bureaus. They make the connections with the media that's coming here to visit, since our GMTs are stationed in the islands. Those are the things that happen in the global support services, as well as the Island Visitor Bureau contracts that we're doing.
And I raise concern because we went through a really tough fight, and many people got threatened and so forth when we broke up the contract. Because back then, in early 2000, HVB at the time, had the entire world, one contract. They had the entire world. And it was very difficult for anybody to bid on it because, they sustained themselves, they had all of the money, and it was very difficult for HTA to talk to Japan and talk to Australia and talk to because it was totally controlled by HVCB or HVB at the time. And so when HTA and some of the members back then decided that they were going to break up the contract, five major marketing, boy, that was politically got beat up. People got beat up for it. There were threats made about that. And but the contracts, thanks to the board members, were tough, and we had the five major marketing to split up. Now, it seems like it's going back again to HVCB, going back and having some kind of oversight or work. I mean, that was not the intent, so I'm not sure how this whole.
So they're still independent contractors in each of the markets to do the marketing and the branding. What HVCB is contracted to do are the support services, things that they do here in Hawaii.
But isn't that what HTA should be doing? Again, you
Yes,
guys are-
actually,
you're just
it
a
should be
conduit. You guys
if we
only-
have the.
Wait, let me
yeah,
finish.
okay.
You guys only go out and give all these contracts, and so I don't know why you have all the staff when you have all these people doing it. So there's really a big conflict here as to, we have just monitors there to check up on what HVCB is doing. Yeah, you need some coordination, but the
Yes.
whole intent was to take it back to HTA. Now you're just going back, because that was the initial, when Milton Hotham did HTA, was to take it away from HVB.
Right.
Whether you agree with that or not, that was the whole intent. And so when I came in 2000, all HTA did was contract with HVB. So it was, it was going around the intent of the statute of HTA. And I think that's why there's been a big overhaul, but it seems like in this overhaul, we're kind of going back. And, I'm not blaming anybody that's on there. It's certainly our problem with the statute and members who look at the statute and not know the history of where we've been with HTA and what your original purpose should be. So, I don't know that your purpose is to have all, I don't know, how many employees you have? 30?
30 positions.
30 positions, yeah, and of course, they're not all filled. But then if we have contractors doing the job, then what are you guys doing?
And I want to say that in our fiscal year 26 budget, we do request to move to ask for budgeting and positions in order to do the kind of work that's necessary that right now we have to contract out.
But if
So
you're
we
not
are-
doing it
since we've been
now, why would I give you more positions?
Because we're unable to with the positions we have. They're right now focused on the work that's at hand. And we know we don't have some of the specialty services as well as the bodies in order to do website development, in order to do air route development.
So Aaron said that these destination managers are no longer going to be there, Kuleana.
those
That is
we
going to
moved
go
over.
back to you guys. So now you folks are going to take over what the destination managers do. So I guess I have a hard time understanding what exactly, why do we actually need a CEO for HTA? I mean, so you guys got to justify, I'm sorry, you have to justify what you're doing. And then if you have these destination managers, I thought that was CNHA. They're supposed to be destination management and neighbor islands. So I see heads shaking, but again, for us, some of us, it's not clear where the lines are. And it's not their fault, it's not the contractor's fault. It's, again, HTA, I feel you guys have not been clear in that we have clear lines as to where the overlap, what's going on. It's very difficult. And then where is your emphasis? Because there's a lot of emphasis on, Hawaiian language and interpretation and, changing all of this stuff and Hawaiian messages at the airport, which is fine and well, but where's the focus on all the other areas? And I think we had that question in Japan, that, you folks have time to do that, but you didn't have time to do some of the other things that we were concerned about.
I want to say that over this past year, we have heard those concerns and we have shifted. In fiscal year 25 and 26, we have made the changes. We've taken on board the 5 destination managers because we know if they are state positions, they have more authority to work with the other agencies and it has been more productive. We have changed our focus on some of those programs that you mentioned are no longer funded. Because we have to put more emphasis on the marketing as well as the on-island destination management,
Okay,
which
so
you'll
we
see
need to
reflected in our
We need to
budget.
see some of this in your presentations because
Okay.
it's not clear.
Okay.
And where the lines are and what exactly is the whole intent and where we're going. It's not clear. It's not clear to me. Maybe it's clear to everybody else, but certainly not clear to me. And I feel I have a good understanding of HTA and the basics. Of course, I don't have a great understanding of all this new stuff that's in the statute, which concerns me because I don't know that some of those stuff are realistic that HTA can accomplish. And so I know that the drafters of this had good intentions, but to me, some of the stuff like investigations that's in there on page 7, there's stuff in there on measurements that I'm wondering how you're measuring net positive contributions. I mean, there's stuff in the statute that I've read that I'm just wondering, you guys supported the statute, and yet I don't know that you folks can fulfill that to what it is that was intended. So I don't know, we might have to look at it, how we tweak this, but.
No, thank you, Senator Kim. And this is why I asked for the informational briefing, even while I was able to, attend several of these conferences abroad. Not hard to confuse me, okay? So if I ask you 5 times, it's because I still don't get it. The transition of the destination managers, which I just gonna say, thank you guys for answering the questions because it's helping us to try and isolate, like, it's all mixed up. It's all over the board. My understanding also is, you have a vacancy also now in the Maui destination manager because you guys pulled that individual to the HTA. So I'm just trying to get on grip on who's on first base, who's on second base, and who's at home plate, while understanding what is the roles and responsibilities of HVCB, HTA, CNHA, and then where is our focus? So I know we get plenty questions, and I think this is a great dialogue, which is why I said, hey, there should be like a series of different segments because, I'm not saying she's old, but, she's been here before me, and like, so when I asked
Bite
her.
your tongue.
Sorry, but when I asked her a question, she's like, I was like, Yeah, so, I just wanted to say, how will the transition of the destination managers from HVCB to HTA impact the coordination between the IVBs and HTA? Because I don't get it. And, you've been there 2 months, I've been there a little over a year, and I think what was once simple and basic now has become a little more like, I get this part. The whole creation behind it for me was to diversify tourism as best as we can, because what we learned from COVID, when we went down, the tourism industry went down. The film industry was rocking it. Sports was still going. We had all these other things, and then we had the engagement of our sports division with our kids doing extracurricular. They weren't doing things they shouldn't be doing, but we wanted to, show that model of there was interest there while trying to promote tourism in a friendly, environmental, cultural, diversified cultural way, because tourism is not just Hawaiian. Tourism is, we're a melting pot. So I get the breakup of Japan, China. Heck, I was in Japan taking pictures with Shohei Ohtani and cardboard, and they thought I was crazy, but hey, they were promoting it there. So, it's there, but we are trying to reel it back where we can help understand to model this, to give great legislation or amend statute, because it's so broad for me. It's so broad that I cannot focus, I literally need to focus directly on it, which is why I canceled the rest of my year. So,
Madam Chair, can I also state that Senator Fukunaga was also here?
Yeah.
So she's also on.
yeah, so I'm glad you brought that, but they're really great, and then, I started the vice chair in here because I also pick his brains as well, and I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, but, I know we're running out of time, and if you guys will indulge me, can we forward the rest of our questions
Sure, yeah.
over while we wait for the presentation
Exactly.
of Kuhio, who has been patiently and Tyler waiting to present? But thank you, guys.
Thank you,
I
Chair.
am
Thank
so
you, members.
grateful
Thank you.
for this. Thank you. So, Kuhio and Tyler will join us. Thank you guys for waiting. Appreciate it.
Aloha Chair members, Kuhio Lewis, CEO for the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, and Tyler Iakepa Gomes, our Chief Administrator for Kilohana, the Tourism Division of CNHA. Just super high level, CNHA applied for the contract. We, of course, are involved in a number of different initiatives across the state, from housing, workforce development, economic development. We have initiatives going on Maui, Hawai'i Island, and a plethora of other areas. Tyler is directly responsible for the contract with Hawaii Tourism Authority. CNHA does, I just support Tyler in that role. Of course, some of the work that we're doing with CNHA interconnects, whether it's workforce or pop-up makeke and other areas, so it complements, but Tyler carries the kuleana specifically to fulfill the contract with HTA. So that's just super high level for me, and maybe Tyler can add to that.
Well, Chair, members of the committee, thanks for having us and helping me revisit my PTSD from being at DHHL. It's really nice to be back in the hot seat. To, I think, Senator Kim's question about what do the lines look like, I can explain a little more about what specifically our contract is. It's very much programmatically deliverable oriented, right? So we have 5 different programs, the first of which is visitor education, post-arrival marketing. We are only allowed to market to the visitor once they've landed in Hawaii. We produce content which goes into in-room as well as digital display in the airport, and then native ads and basically Google SEO, advising visitors about what's the responsible way to travel, support local, buy local, eat local, don't touch the monk seals. And in one particular case, we had an ancillary contract specifically for Maui in this same bucket of advising visitors that Maui was still open, but these are the areas we would like you to travel to, and these are the areas that we would not like you to travel to. The second programmatic element is technical assistance and capacity building. So we developed 3 different technical assistance programs for HTA. The first of which is foundational technical assistance for small businesses, community organizations, nonprofits, giving them the tools, support they need, whether it be on the back end for accounting, staff training, HR development, anything to help their business or their organization be a little more stable. And then we developed 2 additional TA programs that are cohort-based. The first is meant to replicate what was achieved in Ha'ena. So we selected a cohort of individuals across the state. The only island that we didn't get representation from was Lanai. But on each of those islands, we are working directly with an organization to figure out how to develop a community management plan that addresses the impacts of tourism in those communities. The second cohort is focused on, again, statewide organizations, with the exception of Lanai, creating a new product or taking an existing product like their farm and helping them scale it so it now becomes an agritourism experience. And so we just launched that last month, and so we're working with those cohorts through the end of the year to help them develop this out. The third program is Curator, which is now the state of Hawaii's official quality assurance visitor industry program. It is the most expansive in the world. We've been recognized by the Global Sustainability Tourism Council for our ability to help create something that spans across every vertical and at the depth of any possible size of company. So you could be a very small startup, or you could be an established hotel. And this program is meant, one, to communicate to the visitor, these are the kinds of experiences and businesses that HTA has authenticated that meet our standards in health, worker equity, contributions to the environment and mitigating climate change, contributions to the community itself. And then also this communicates the same value set that I think HTA has been trying to communicate to the residents, which is we hear what's important to you, so we're going to certify businesses based on those values. The fourth program is a tour guide curriculum development. It is the smallest element of this contract, but no less meaningless. The last time a tour guide certification curriculum was created was in the 90s through UH. It has not been updated since. So we're working to refresh, one, the curriculum, and then take it out of just a paper manual format and put it online with a bit more media and video assets in order to make it, more entertaining and likely to be used. And then the last program is administration of HTA's 6 partnership opportunities by which they fund events in the communities. And so those programmatic buckets are what was called this year the Resort Area Hawaiian Culture Initiative, but next year will be called the Ho'okipa Malihini Initiative. That's to support culture practitioners or cultural activities, Native Hawaiian culture activities directly in resort areas. Then there is Kukulu'ola. That's to support community organizations doing Native Hawaiian culture-based work with the visitor nexus. Then there's Kahu'aina, which is organizations doing land-based work with an emphasis on the visitor nexus. And then there are 2 larger buckets, which are the community enrichment program, which is everything from ukulele festivals, hula festivals, to the signature events, which are the global scale events, Hawaii Food and Wine, as an example. So we administer the process by which we solicit the applications, the evaluation committee goes through all of that, and then we monitor the awarding and the reporting throughout the year. So those are the 5, that's all that we do under this contract, and happy to answer any questions that offers.
Maybe I could add to, I think it's important for Senate to, or legislators to understand that CNHA Kilohana actually supports all the major market areas, not just HVCB and the work that they do with the United States. So I think that oftentimes we get put up against HVCB, but our kuleana really is to support all incoming visitors and not just one market. Yeah.
Thank you. Members, any questions?
Okay, so what is still on my mind? So you talked about events, signature events, but I thought HVCB just told us about you guys did the signature events, no?
So
I
we,
wrote it down, destination management on each island, signature events, that's what he said, I wrote it down specifically. And then destination management contractor implementing trade, didn't you say that? Implementing trade? I don't know, I mean, that's my notes.
Their contract.
Yeah, signature events.
Is it from prior contract? So, new contract.
It's according to the scope of at that time.
Oh,
Oh, so you, okay, because when you mentioned, you said 5 contracts, US MMA, global support services, global meetings, pre-post, destination management on each island, and destination management contractor implementation. I mean, that's what it, you didn't say it was your past, it was part of all this 5 contracts.
They are current with us, yes. The scope of the contracts are changing as a result
Okay.
of this engagement,
So you're no longer going to do signature events?
not on behalf.
Okay, so they're doing it, but you guys are doing it. Okay,
Starting-
you're doing, so, okay, so you're taking over the destination management positions,
HTA did, those
Yeah.
are in-house.
right,
They
but,
get the other stuff.
but the signature events,
Is contracted through Kilo Hana for calendar 24 and 25.
okay, okay. And then you talk about all this assistance to the Hawaiian small businesses and so forth. Where does OHA play in the role? I thought they were giving out contracts for small businesses and helping them develop Hawaiian businesses and so forth. Are you folks working with them? Is it duplication or?
So we don't directly provide any support to Native Hawaiian businesses. We do facilitate awards made under the funding programs to organizations that do work that support Native Hawaiian culture or Native Hawaiian culture in the resort areas, but we don't specifically fund Native Hawaiian businesses using this.
Okay, so how does HTA work with OHA to ensure that we're getting the best out of what their investments as well as what we are investing?
We have physical members who do that. No, but we meet with OHA and talk with board members as well as staff. I mean, they don't have a specific economic development right at this time in tourism. So we work to support those businesses that want to be involved in the tourism industry. But we do not have a criteria that they are native Hawaiian businesses, it's all businesses.
So have we tried to work with OHA, because the state does give money to OHA?
We do work with OHA, and we have in the past, they have been part of our selection committee, they have worked.
No,
on
I mean
planning.
developing some of these things so that we don't have a duplication. Because they have a lot of money and they're supposed to be there to support the Hawaiian businesses, so, Hawaiian entities. And then you mentioned agritourism, but isn't that DBED? Jimmy, is that you guys supposed to be doing that? So are you working through them again? So see the confusion that we're having here on whose role is what?
The,
Yeah, well, I want you to say
I
something.
can answer from here, but yes, we have a farm, which is, as you know, ABC, for agritourism, and
Yeah, so how does that dovetail with what was just said about agritourism?
I'm not sure, ABC and HTA, with the administration of HTA connected, and maybe Danny can answer, or
yes, the director, has been working with, Caroline. So ADC is working with Caroline on developing the agritourism programs as well as we're on the selection committee this year, right?
Okay, so does that mean that they're need to no longer do that, or what? I mean,
No, and
going back there?
we do not have a specific agritourism program at the moment. It's just one of the niche areas because it's identified in our statutes about these are the niche areas that we need to move tourism towards to also address.
See, that's the concern I have, because the statute talks about some of this stuff as to, you know, how are we doing that funding, and should that funding or that be under DBED? And then you talked about quality assurances and authenticate businesses for our tourists that come here. How does that information get to the tourists? So I come here from the mainland, how do I know that that business is authenticated, or that, I mean, how do I know that? How does
So
that information-
there is a robust marketing budget to make sure that visitors, once they're here, know about it. There's a seal of approval. And then there's the website curator.travel, which allows the visitors to sort by business type, what badges they've been given through the program. And the badges are provided certificates and the ability to display both their certification level and their badge
And
qualifications.
does the businesses, local businesses understand that they need to go through some process to get these badges?
So we've been working really hard over the last 3 months to try and announce that as much as possible. We did actually, the Hawaii Tourism Conference was a great opportunity to highlight that.
And then what happens if a business that's authenticated gets complaints or problems by these visitors?
So there's an annual recertification. So if there are issues with the business and that's brought to our attention, that would certainly be a part of the recertification annually.
So how long has this authentication been in months, only months?
Maybe 2 to 3 months.
Okay, so you're gonna give us reports at the end of each year?
We can
as
do
to
that.
What kind of complaints and certifications, and you're gonna decertify people if it's bad, or?
We have the authority to do that if they don't meet the minimum criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
And then, Senator, I think we can provide you a list of the companies that have already certified. The 3 major air carriers from Japan just all signed maybe 2 weeks ago, which is great for the Japanese market. They're looking for the same sort of authentication, so we can provide you the list of who's currently certified.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe a follow-up question, with the hula shows and the dinner show startup, what kind of response have you received thus far? And where do you see, growth opportunities and other kinds of new expansion areas?
Thank you, Senator. There is a delineation between the work that we're doing with HTA. The hula shows and other initiatives are CNHA funded, but it's complementary. It's basically all the things that we'd like to do that aren't funded by HTA. We're finding other resources to do it. And to Senator's question earlier regarding business development, CNHA is actually very active on business development. It's not funded by HTA, but we've turned our applicant pools to focus on the industry. So it's utilizing existing capacity of CNHA to support the contract work, even though it's not funded by HTA. The shows are doing well. It's attracting a lot of visitors. It's about creating experiences that visitors can appreciate. It's authentic. And it also is providing jobs for 70 hula dancers in Waikiki. So we're very excited about the potential and the future of that initiative of ours.
I was really impressed to see that CNHA has also acquired, I think it's equipment and lighting services business, because, to the extent that we have more conventions, business activity in and around the convention center, then that becomes also another training ground for
absolutely.
more jobs, more employment.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as we're living in this conversation of regenerative tourism, we see the hula shows by way of providing jobs, as well as the stage lighting company that we've acquired as being a vehicle to keep some of the money flowing locally. So providing opportunities to go after events, to host, their activities, and hiring local people, hiring local equipment to do all of that is part of what we're seeing as regenerative. It's about providing economic and meaningful opportunities for Hawaii's people within the industry. And so the acquisition of that company was towards that end.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I wanted to go back. I think my challenge has always been return on investment. And I use this as an example when I was in Japan. And I said, we're sitting in one of the airline meetings, and I said, how do you guys justify a return on investment? Because when I asked several people that came to Hawaii, I said, hey, you guys saw the advertisement? They're like, no. So is there a system that you guys use? Because I've asked this of others as well. How you guys justify who saw this marketing or advertisement, whether it be within CNHA or Kilohana? Because I did go to the hula show, which I thought was super good, because they talked about past history to today and the jobs provided. And downstairs, that place was just off the charts with tourists just engaging. So how you guys measure that?
Well, I guess there's different measuring sticks. For me, from CNHA's lens, I'm looking at it from the economic benefit of local people. How many jobs are we providing? How much revenue is being generated that we can keep locally? So that's my measuring tool. On the marketing side of things, and CNHA is still evolving in terms of learning how to talk to the visitors. We've not been in this for 100 years, but we have a long ways to go in learning. And so I think we continue to figure out the right messaging, the right way where it's respectful of our culture, but it's receptive on the other end of the visitor. I'm just saying, I think we're evolving in that way, but.
We're only asking because I've asked that of the other guys, and I figure since you guys have just been excelling off the charts, do you guys have a better push on your return of investment? Because when they see the added attachments, like I see them all there, like Papa Makeke is a perfect example, right? And I can just stand there and look and realize, well, like I just spent $500 at the Papa Makeke. I see the ads coming out. So, I can kind of in general, like vision that. But what he's saying is, I'm spending this much money on marketing. What is my taxpayers getting for their money?
Sure.
So that's kind of where I'm coming from on the other portion of it, while I'm trying to figure out, because you guys also have post destination management, and you guys are in those areas as we promote the education component that we talked about earlier. How do we educate tourists, when they come to Hawaii? Which is why I'm really grateful for Wainapanapa and the reservation system, because at the same time, to your guys' program, how have you guys pushed the message out? And I've seen you guys do it, but so that people realize, okay, you know QR code to get over here, because I really don't like you inundate the people that have made this comment through destination management. Where, help us understand that educational process and the push out, where the residents in those areas have a seat at the table to say it is too much.
Sure.
And that we're focused more on trying to educate that, as well as explain our resources and what's being impacted on.
Yep. So I'll just start and then Tyler can clean this up, but I do know that we have a lot of analytics that tell us what's resonating and what's not. And that's not just for visitors, it's also with local residents. And I think we've learned a lot. CNHA has grown tremendously in terms of how to talk to our local residents. We have a strong presence in the community. On the visitor side, that's Tyler, but I do know that there's a lot of analytics that we've been looking at, what works, what's not working, and we're learning from that.
So on the visitor education side, we run metrics every month for HTA. So we can look at not just impressions, which arguably are lower, particularly in the airport, just because arrivals are down, but we can track click-through rate, which is a really great way to measure whether or not, one, the ads are impactful, two, whether or not it's actually driving traffic somewhere. So that's presented every month to HTA. On the partnership opportunity side, so Umeke, you can use the DBED economic impact calculator, and that's what we require of each of the recipients to demonstrate what the economic impact of their event was. So you can do an ROI comparison of HTA put $25,000 into this event and it generated $75,000 in additional visitor spending in the month of June. And I think the data in-house at HTA lends itself to answering that question, like what's the ROI on giving these monies out to the community?
So I just got a follow-up question. So, because earlier we talked about overlap, and that's why we're just trying to wrap our head around this. So you have HTA and you have HCVB. So as it relates to the contracts, that you guys also have, you guys see any overlap? Do you think that there's overlap within those two contracts? And I'm only asking because if our funds or that can be used elsewhere, I mean, if we overlap it, I think we're just defeating the purpose of the focus of the expertise within the two contracts, yeah? How do we best use that? And, I don't know if you answer that now.
I don't know if I would call it overlap. I think that, there's still a little bit of maybe obscurity in what we call destination stewardship, which is what our contract is, and what destination management action plans are. But I think that it can be confusing, but really there's a line. We don't touch the destination management action plans. So I don't get the sense that there's an overlap and that we're doing the same thing. I think they're complementary. But like I said, because our contract is so programmatically arranged, I don't get the sense that HVCB is being asked to do the same things that we are.
I think the labeling is confusing for the layperson. for us, destination this, destination that. It's like, it's like, yeah, that needs to be cleared up by HTA. It's too confusing.
I think in the first year of the contract, I mean, we just came out of the first year, there was, because there was things that HVCB was still doing that was being put into our contract. So there was a little bit of overlap initially, but it's ironing itself out. I think there is opportunity to strengthen the contract that we have with HTA now, now that we've got a chance to kind of understand the lay of land. And I brought this to the board's attention about how I think we can strengthen the contract and the contributions that CNHA can bring to the table. But I think right now, with Aaron just joining, there's a lot of opportunity to really synergize.
Let me also say, you folks also put in the statute what you want us to do. Okay, that's what the codification was. So we still have to go through that as well.
Well, I think
to Make
that's,
sure we fulfill what you folks want in the statute.
but I think part of your role should be to tell us what is unrealistic. I mean, there's so much stuff into the statute that, you guys are putting a little bit money here, a little bit money there, and then the expectation is that you're going to do all these great things and your funds are limited. So I think you guys need to, since you're the ones that have to effectuate what's in the statute, to let us know what are some of the areas which is not realistic or should be under DBID or should be under something else, because otherwise you're going to be the ones that we're going to hold accountable. And I don't know that that's fair, or
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
something
and
we
also
want
too,
to.
That's a great question, Senator Kim. Also too, there's 51 of you here that all want something in
Right,
destination management
right,
fulfilled.
and that
We
can't
want
possible.
something in our stewardship. We want
Exactly.
something in marketing. So that's the balancing act we're
Right.
trying to sort out. So part of it has been trial and error, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But I think, basically we've learned from that. And also now we've got a commitment from HVCB, Kilohana, and HTA to try to sort this out so it makes sense to you. folks.
So I'm going to task you guys, if I may, Madam Chair, task you guys with reviewing the statute and going through each one and saying what's realistic, because there's about investigation. I don't know that you guys can investigate certain things. I mean, but there's a lot of, things that are not realistic in the statute that needs cleaning up. So you need to come back with us with
And that's part of the process
recommendations.
that we're working through right now, through the development of the functional plan, which was another statute that was added recently, and our strategic plan. So sussing out of each of the components, who actually can do it ourselves as well as the other agencies, and then the support we will get from the other agencies. And that's part of the report we'll get back as part of that functional plan and the strategic plan.
So DMAP has been probably in the works for 4 years, yeah. And, at some point, you want to come up with something that is liking by that community. So, how does the community cohort plan work with the DMAP? How do you solidify that, or does it work or doesn't it? Would be pretty much the question at that point, yeah.
And then how does this all dovetail with the budget, which is next
Yeah.
on our agenda, and we're running out of time, so I don't know if we want to go into that. But the budget is key, right? Yeah, that's not you guys, but,
Because the community management plan, right, we've had our struggles. And I'm gonna say Molokai is the last again, because we're very contentious, but, I can talk for everybody, but we literally had to baby it, right? We shadowed that, we babied it, because we never nobody be left out. So how do now, we take those priorities, we incorporate that, and then we fund those priorities in alignment, because I'm gonna say this, at the end of the day, as we look towards the budget, and we know we gotta deal with the wildfire still yet, because we have a lot of stuff there, contracts were canceled. At the same time, I gotta ask myself, how do I generate revenue via tourism that is liking, yet trying to wrap my head around, okay, what are we doing on left field? The ball went right field, so, but I just say, we will be sending more questions, and then, I get it, there's a lot of us here, and it's not a matter of the ask that we're asking. I think the ask is more in a broad, it's not a personal ask, but it's, if we look at it, and you take sports, that is something that has been broad, that has been focused, where the next generation can have, because I think we just lost extracurricular, like I said. Everybody doing other stuff that, let them play a little bit, didn't work. So I just wanted to share that part of it, but what we'll do is, and that's why I want to continue this info briefing of series, or if any of the members also have follow-up questions, that we're gonna compile and send them out to you guys as well, but I am just grateful for you guys taking the time to be here as well, but does anybody else from the committee have any further questions?
Just on, so, just like for us, since we went through all this whole committee, bid and procurement and all this craziness going by, we need to define to the public the actual, I know you guys saying, but you guys know, we don't know, we cannot articulate to our constituents on the actual fine line on who's defining it. And don't get me wrong, I hear about CNHA on a lot of places that I go, but not in the defining on the other agencies on what is their role and what is the defining, maybe like you said, you guys are working it out, but going forward, we don't see it. You know, maybe it's an invisible line, but we don't see it. We see that you guys are pretty much doing almost the same thing in the public eye, and both doing the same thing. And exactly what Senator Kim and Senator DeQuaid said is we funding and we double dipping, like how we say in government, we double dip here and there, especially with the DOE. So something like that, going forward, as we have more of them, to define the actual separation of the two entities so that we can move forward in letting the community know what we try to accomplish coming with HDN tourism.
And then keep in mind, as we've looked at the Japan market, China market, we see the when we talk about meat and, that visitor industry is growing, and we can literally take those packages and look, okay, this is how much people we touch, this is how much people have come under one group rate. My other question that you guys can answer later as well is, are those groups also being hooked up with businesses, local businesses here in Hawaii, or is it just we hitting the hotel, we hitting the convention center, and then we cherry picking the venue? Yeah, so I kind of like see the spread out of that, where the local businesses here are impacted as well.
I don't have time right now, but we have our LLA program. So we actually recruit and work with the local organizations, businesses, work with DBED to identify industries. And then those meeting through our Meet Hawaii, they actually go and identify some of the leads that the local organizations have told us about. And that's the LLA program.
Okay.
Yeah, so we tie closely with the DBED staff on their industry sectors.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and again, we're gonna follow up with other questions, and it's just really to give us a better idea so we can try and do the best we can for upcoming session of next year. So mahalo, everybody, mahalo, committee, and
What about the budget? You're not going to do the budget?
because we mix them all inside as well. We're gonna see it. So with that, I am gonna adjourn this info briefing. Do you want?
No, if not, we're going to do it another time.
I'm gonna leave the budget for another time. I think this was a lot to regurgitate. So mahalo everybody for coming, and thank you committee members for being here. This info briefing is adjourned.